we have the Grand Canyon. It's a few hours away from where I used to live in the States. And some people are like, oh, it's just a big hole in the ground. But man,
I think for me, when you see beauty, we see Genesis 1, which you spoke about in the previous podcast. We see God created, and He created it good, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. That's such a privilege to know that we have a God that is just there all the time.
And just going to an art gallery and just losing myself in just walking around, it just lifts my eyes, because I think, wow, if a human has created that, how much greater must the God that created that human be?
Welcome to Around the Fire, a space for conversations to nurture hearts and build lives following Jesus. We are thinking more deeply about big ideas and how to apply them. We want you to imagine that you are sat around the fire with some friends and the conversation is getting really, really good, really deep. You start to relax and think about ideas and themes and what it looks like to find and follow Jesus. And so to those of you who are in our Elim Life Church community and those beyond, we want to just adventure together and explore together. And so we welcome you to the second part of a very, very special Advent special podcast series. Also, we can see you. Hi. Jonny, do you want to introduce us to our wonderful guests?
I will. Thank you, Sarah. Welcome to Around the Fire. This is exciting for us. If you haven't watched the first kind of in this series or this episodes, then please do go back and watch them. We're very excited. They are just really good, full of gold. And the reason they're full of gold is that Sarah and I are joined by some brilliant, brilliant guests. Also, this one is extra special because we have Ryan for 2 out of 4 of these episodes, and this is episode 2 of 4. So we're going to get all the good stuff out of Ryan. So I wonder if really quickly, if people haven't watched the first episode, if we could go down the line, if you could introduce yourselves, however you want to be known and what you want to be known for. If it's criminal, keep that to yourself. But if you just want to introduce yourself, and then when we get to Sarah, Sarah's going to ask us a Christmas question so we all remember why we're here, and then let the fun begin. So from this end, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonny. My name is Isak Peterson. I am currently living in Bradford, the lovely north. Married and got a little boy that's 18 months that's keeping me up at night. I do discipleship and pastoral care for a church called Life Church in Bradford. And I just love creativity. I songwrite, I do different things, just multi-hyphenated, as they would say. That's why I'm here. I'm really excited about this conversation. I absolutely love it.
Amazing. Thank you.
I'm Lisa. I'm part of the church here. I'm a mum. I'm a businesswoman. I love writing. I love creativity. I perform when asked. That's it. No.
I'm John, Elim pastor in Stratford, Oasis Community Church, passionate about formation, discipleship, and the role of creativity has been part of my life and my journey. My dad was an art teacher, so I couldn't escape the arts. My granddad was a painter, so grown up with a cacophony of art around me.
Wow.
my name is Ryan, and I am a dad. I'm a husband. I'm a musician, producer, and I've I love all things art as well. And I've been able to do some cool stuff.
Nice. Well, welcome everyone. So to keep us on our sort of Advent theme, and because I'm a raving extrovert and I absolutely love these kind of conversations, some people don't, but I do. Not looking at anyone, Jonny. We're doing this in audio and visual today. So in honor of that, and because I absolutely love a really, really good Christmas movie, and maybe we'll start with you, Ryan, and work our way back around to the end of the table. Give me it isn't Christmas unless we've watched, and if you're too holy to watch anything, make something up. That'd be great.
Lie for the podcast.
I think I would maybe say the new version of Miracle on 34th Street.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very
you can
good.
have that.
Solid.
Good.
Do I start a debate asking whether Die Hard is a Christmas film?
It is.
Yes, you do.
It is.
Absolutely a Christmas film.
I mean, it's not my go-to Christmas film, but I thought I'd just throw that out there and see if
I'm loving that you've gone in with gratuitous violence straight off the bat, John. Beautiful.
Home Alone, though, would be I have to watch that every year.
The first one.
First two.
Ooh, first two.
1 and 2. Yeah, 1 and 2.
Controversial.
You have to
100%
back-to-back 1 and 2,
Okay.
and then forget the others were ever made.
Okay,
Run out of
great.
movies
Home
now.
Alone. Lisa.
There are no other Christmas movies now.
That's what I felt.
I like Christmas with the Cranks.
Nice.
I love it because he's trying to cancel Christmas and she's not having it.
No.
And
Yeah.
I like to watch that when I'm putting up the tree with everyone. So I love that film.
Brilliant. I love
That's
it.
cool.
Oh, gutted. I was going to say,
Have you got some like noir Scandi version of something?
it's a black and white movie
What's
that was
the Disney
released
thing?
in the 80s.
Do they do
No.
that in the Faroes?
Silent.
Is that just Sweden? Do they do that in the Faroes? The
Which
Disney thing that you watch on Christmas Eve?
Oh, yeah, we do that, actually. That's like like all of the Disney characters together kind of thing. That's beautiful. I was going to say Home Alone, but now that you
Picked it
said
first.
that, I'm going to make my wife proud and say The Holiday.
Well done.
Oh, good.
What a
reason
dreadful
being,
movie.
Yeah, exactly. Genuinely, so I haven't finished. The reason being is because my wife's happy if you watch it. So
Well done.
happy wife, happy life.
Well
Do you
done.
know what I mean?
Correct.
Like, I don't like it, but
Merry
it's Christmas.
You
in
got to
that
do what you
house
got to do,
when that
man.
happens.
It's the season for giving, and you got to give 2 hours of your time to watch that nonsense.
Johnny, same
Good.
question to you.
Yep, I would, without hesitation, say Home Alone. However, my wife is a huge Love Actually fan, which is problematic. I think it's been cancelled, but
Probably.
it's
About 14 times.
definitely not problematic in our household. Again, referenced it in episode 1. There are things that go in the diary, and Love Actually, and she gets very, very upset if it's on telly through the year at the wrong time, and it's a whole thing. People that know us know, like, when's Love Actually happening, and similar to Lisa, it will be incorporated with decorations going up and food being made and things happening, and Love Actually will feature at some point there. Don't cancel me. That's just, tradition. There's bandwidth for tradition. If Isak has to watch The Holiday, then there's capacity for... It was a different time. It's fine. Okay.
So I feel like I should just let you know that mine is It's a Wonderful Life, because
Of
I am
course it
that
is.
holy. Thank you. Of
course it
Story of
is.
Redemption, there's angels, Jimmy Stewart.
long,
You're all
though, isn't
gutted
it?
now.
It's long.
No, I go to the cinema every year to watch that. It's on at the Electric Cinema in Birmingham, and I just absolutely love going to see that. Anyway, we want you to be part of this conversation. You can let us know your favourite Christmas movie as well, but we really want to create community around these conversations. And so we have a new way for you to get in touch.
Come on.
Very excited. You can email us, and the email is very simple. It is podcast@elimlifechurch.co.uk.
Yep.
podcast@elimlifechurch.co.uk. So you can find us on socials. We're Elim Life Church in North Birmingham. Get in touch. We'd love you to be part of this conversation.
Yep. Brilliant. Thanks, Sarah. We are having these thoughts and ideas and conversations, facilitating, have the privilege of hosting these conversations, because we, as you are watching this, are in Advent. As we're filming this, we're not, and we're all a little bit confused. But we are putting these together to help us find and follow Jesus through the Advent season. And some of our, in Elim Life Church, some of our Advent ideas and themes are going to be heavily tied up to these 4 words. Creativity, beauty, wonder, and glory. And so we have some other resources and things to go with that, but that's why we are where we are. And so our theme this year, the wonder of Christmas, we want to help bring some clarity to the story so that we have confidence in the Saviour. We're going to be in Luke a lot. We're going to be in Matthew a lot around our kind of Sunday gathered communications. And so instead of thinking backwards on that into the new year when all the trees are down and the decorations are away and everybody's like, I can't think about it
Did you
anymore.
say in the new year the decorations go down?
Let's not go there right now. Again, my household have very strong feelings about this. So we want to do that in real time. So we want to track so that it's helpful with us along the way. So
I think we've lost the panel of friends now.
So we were discussing this in the table, that we don't endorse or subscribe to the theology of your favorite Christmas movie, to which Isak said, if we're playing that game, my favorite Christmas movie is The Passion of the Christ. And we're like,
That's where Christmas started.
we're like, it's
All
gone.
right.
Like, if we're playing that game, then so our heads have gone a little bit. So we've been thinking about creativity. If you haven't watched the episode, watch it. It's really good. brilliant people are giving away lifetimes worth of kind of learned experience and wisdom and journeying with Jesus and spirit-filled moments that you will be the beneficiary of. If you have watched that, then that will have set you up in a really good way to think about the conversation for today. So we are going to think about beauty today. We're going to think about what beauty in the Christmas story means. We're going to think about what beauty in community means. We're going to think about what does beauty as a follower of Jesus mean for us. We are excited because in our kind of setup conversations as Andy and Chris and Sarah, who you can't see on camera but have been facilitating and making all of this possible for us as they've been getting set up and ready, we as a team have been talking and thinking, and we think there's some real value, some real kingdom value in unpacking some of these ideas of around beauty. So who would like to kick us off? We're going to kind of pick up the idea of around the fire is that you're invited into conversation. So that is, in this instance, literally what's happening. You're going to join us as we continue our conversation around beauty. Ryan, I wonder if we can start with you because we know you're on the clock a little bit. And so we're not going to let you get out of here for free. So give us the good stuff. Where's your head been? You've had some really interesting thoughts on beauty. Would you kick us off, man?
Yeah. So one of the things, like just kind of starting off, was thinking about beauty as almost sort of defining it. Like, what is beauty? And obviously, it's something that we engage with, something that we see typically, but something that we definitely experience. And I'm sure all of us can point to an instance in life where we've experienced beauty and that being just something that's incredible. But also the idea that sometimes beauty is considered subjective. So then as I was thinking about that, then I began to wonder, like, what if God is the quintessential exemplification of beauty?
Yeah.
You know? What if he is that standard? He is, or he is the one thing from which all beauty is derived.
Yes.
You know?
Very good. Yeah, it's great.
And I think he probably is. But what does that mean?
You're right.
You know what I mean?
That's why we're here, right? We're waiting for you to tell us.
So yeah, what does that mean to those who are everyone on this panel who's substantially smarter than me?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Ryan's
not
now one of the
true,
co-hosts.
Ryan's changed his role in community.
Yeah, I want your
Isaac,
job.
what is it? Speak to us. Help
I
us.
actually think I really agree with God is the quintessential image of beauty, and Jesus, coming to die for us, and there's no other more beautiful act in different things. But I was thinking about this the other day, and I think what beauty for me kind of is why it's significant to me is that I think without beauty, there's no wonder, and without wonder, there's no mystery. And without mystery, you are God.
Great.
Because I think it shows you something that there is something more grand, something more vast, something beyond yourself.
Yeah.
And I think beauty is almost like a little bit of a sniff of that, almost like a scent of I see something beautiful and I kind of get taken aback. Yeah. And it's there must be something more if I react like this to something. Brilliant. Yeah. Does that make sense? So I feel like that's kind of how it's become a shadow of who God is almost, because that's what he does to us when you encounter him, when you see him through life and whatever. That's kind of my...
That's great.
I love that as well, because it's like anything that if it's inverted and we bring it back on ourselves, it becomes sinful. And I think with beauty, if we see that it's our capacity to perceive beauty is there for us to look beyond ourselves, then it leads us to a place of worship. But if we bring it back and put it on ourselves, then it becomes a place of condemnation. It becomes a place of anxiety and depression.
What about pride? Because wasn't Lucifer considered beautiful?
Right.
Good.
Yeah, in
Yes.
tradition.
I like
Yeah,
tradition,
absolutely. Yeah, it's really good. I was thinking too, those internal dynamics which feels a very contemporary problem that then beauty then becomes a conversation about ownership. And if I internalize it, even if it's parallel to fear, guilt, and shame, which is often the result of internalizing those things. But even running parallel to that, that becomes mine to possess and to hold. That if the fragrance of beauty is an invitation to wonder, which then is an invitation to mystery, which then is the revelation that something exists outside of my ability to own and to control. So if beauty is this, so in extremes that it's the pie on the window in a cartoon, right? And you see the smell lines coming up the thing, and that's what lifts me up and out of my environment towards the thing. If that is what beauty is doing, if it's an invitation to acknowledge the existence of the creator, I can't own that. Like, I can't commodify that. I can't. I think I'm interested in all of your professional experiences too, of the commodification of beauty, and how, because God can't be commodified, God can't be itemized, God can't be sold, and so if God is beauty, then what in your professional interactions, what does that look like? What shape has that taken? And at least you've got some really helpful perspective on standards in modernity and
well, I think
what that might mean.
You said that, Ryan, which was really like strong about if God is the standard of beauty, but then it's been twisted by the world. That that standard is, if you like, that matrix, that scale is completely distorted. As a mum with a daughter, seeing that and that sort of, I guess, from the social media aspect of, what that is telling my daughter, not just my daughter, but any daughter, what that standard of beauty is. And, what is this thing with the lips, the injection? I mean, whoever said that was beautiful.
Stay with us, listeners. Stay with us, listeners.
Beautiful. It just looks weird. But
beauty is subjectively.
I know, it's subjective. But it's kind of like, that all these, who's coming up with that and then saying, that is beauty, and therefore if you don't have your lips like that, you're not beautiful, therefore you are rejected, and you can internalize that, and you can get anxious about that. It's very messed up. So I think the only way is to kind of like go back to the standard of God of beauty, and really, okay, I'm listening to that and I go, okay, well, what is that? In reality, what is that? What does that look like? And again, for me, there's a mystery in that. It's a spiritual thing. It's not this visual aesthetic. Yes, there is beauty in the visual and the aesthetic because God created everything. But at the same time, it goes beyond that. I feel quite passionately that it's been really, really distorted.
We hadn't picked that up.
And the beauty is different in different cultures.
Yes.
So what's beautiful in the culture that I'm a part of would be different to perhaps a different part of the world.
What's beautiful in Birmingham isn't necessarily beautiful in Bradford.
About that.
It's more beautiful.
Yeah, we've got the best curry. Just putting it out there. But like it's also the goalposts of it are shifting continually. Then, right? No one can kind of keep up with what is currently beautiful. And so how does beauty help us to follow Jesus? Like how does it connect us in our discipleship, in our following of Jesus, to who he is and who God is and who we are in him? How does beauty help us with that?
Can I steer that a little bit? Because I don't want to give my opinion, but I want to set John up for this. Because between John, Sarah, and I, we are credentialed through the same space. We are credentialed through Elim. And Elim is great. We love Elim. All the things for the benefit of Chris Cartwright listening. We love you, Chris. Thanks. But Elim is by its heritage of the low church tradition. And so in our heritage, the three of us as ministers within that movement inherit, and this is not throwing shade or anybody under the bus, but we packaged in that low church tradition is an element of suspicion to high church behavior. And that often the high church traditionally has had more possession of visually traditionally beautiful things. But John, I know that in the overlaps of your existence of coming from this low church tradition, but interacting with some of these other traditions, and that introduces iconography, or that introduces other ways to pray, or that introduces visual mediums that maybe 30, 40 years ago, there would have been some nervousness in our tradition around. Could you speak to us about that and how beauty has helped you find and follow Jesus?
Yeah, and part of my journey is I grew up in the Anglican church, so I'm very much Anglicostal, and kind of I can see God working through that. And so I understand the suspicion. I think anything we don't understand, we can be suspicious of. And perhaps that's with beauty as well. That, you know, as we've said, beauty is subjective, and if we perceive something as not beautiful, then we're suspicious of it, and that forms an opinion of it. But for me, I work really practically in my life. So one of the things that I've been journeying through myself is 4 directions when it comes to living out and looking at the life of Jesus. And they're just 4 directions of up, in, out, and down. And so for me, as I look at beauty, what we've been saying is that there's this thing that beauty does that should lead us beyond ourselves to that place of mystery, that place of worship. And so there's an up element to our discipleship and worship. And if we get that wrong, what Romans 1, you know, exchange the worship of the Creator for creation, and we get that wrong, it will affect who we are. Right. So I think there's the up element. I think there's an in element when it comes to community. I think when we acknowledge beauty and we see beauty, there is something that brings us together. What you perceive as beautiful is not what I perceive as beautiful. And I can either push you away and say, you've got it wrong, or I can say, what is it about that you see in beauty? And it brings us together as a community. And God has created us for community. And I think our discipleship grows in that space of community. I think there's also an out, which would be the missional element. I think for me, when you see beauty, we see Genesis 1, which you spoke about in the previous podcast. Yeah. We see God created, and He created it good, and it was beautiful. Yeah. And then there's a fall, and we live in that space between Genesis 1 and Revelation 21, where God will there'll be a new heaven and a new earth, and He will reestablish beauty. And I think there's something about being a people that can see something beautiful, but even bring beauty into a space where we're actually the answer to the prayer of your kingdom come. When we see that there's going to be a time when every tear is wiped away, when brokenness is no more, when things that mar society and people will not exist, and we get to bring that into the here and now and be a people that can be the catalyst for that. So I think there's a mission element to it as well.
That's great. Thank you.
We could all go home.
Ryan, go, Ryan, go. Go, Ryan, go.
Oh, no, I was just saying we could all go home. That was
right, that's done.
Beauty, connection with how we walk with Jesus, and it's cool.
Really good.
I think it was really good, mate. I think the society we live in today has made beauty God, but don't look at God as beautiful.
Very good.
And so again, to the Romans 1 thing, it's like you create a thing that God created to be the thing and not Him. So I think everything finds its rightful place in God that created from the beginning. And we've made beauty, when you see something that you think is beautiful or whatever, you've made that God. And it should be just a foreshadow of, like what we talked about, of like, lift your eyes up a little bit. There must be more. Don't because what culture tends to do is you see something beautiful and then you have to have it. You have to like hold on to it, consume it, crush it, like whatever. And that's the enemy's take on how to preserve beauty is like the crushing of it, or the holding of it, or the overconsumption of it, but leaving it be and letting it be what it does, and letting it get your eyes up, like, again, to go back to...
Lenny of Mice and Men is where my mind goes, and that he loves the thing so much that he squeezes the life out of it, and he says, I didn't mean to kill him, George. And unintentionally we are killing the thing that we are to behold, and it's that interaction, isn't it? So maybe then, from your unique perspectives that are helping us in our discipleship, how do we behold beauty, and how do we move towards Jesus with it without crushing the life out of it? What should our relationship be with beauty in our following of Jesus?
I think seeing it as a gift rather than a possession, sort of going back to that thing of crushing it. Because if you see it as a gift, you can observe it, you can watch it, you can appreciate it, but you don't have to possess it and consume it, which is, again, sort of going back to what the world wants you to do, which is to just possess everything. But yeah, I think that could be helpful.
Super helpful. Super helpful.
As a gift, it can also sometimes point to the giver, help us
Yeah.
Nice.
pursue that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and to not see it as a luxury, I
Okay.
think. So I'm always, whenever we have these kinds of conversations, I'm very conscious of perhaps we have a little bit more agency over our time and our finances that maybe some people who are listening, we could, we're all in different kind of spheres or different ways of being and living and existing. And I think the way that I was brought up, beauty just wasn't a part of our world.
Right.
Like we just didn't, it wasn't that it was, terribly drab or awful. It was a wonderful, childhood in lots of ways. But there wasn't kind of anything that would stimulate beauty or get you to think about beauty. And so I think it's also trying to understand that we can see beauty if we have eyes to see, So I think sometimes the most beautiful thing I've seen is, I've got 2 nieces, and sometimes the most beautiful thing I've seen is when they just play nicely together, and they're hugging each other and they're looking out for each other and they're willing to share their Barbies. Hi, Barbie. But I think there's something so beautiful in that moment, but you have to learn to be present to it, and which I'm really rubbish at. So I think beauty is also recognizing it isn't about necessarily having external experiences, and I'm someone who loves an experience, but it is about being present to perhaps moments of beauty that could be relational, or could be a sunset, or could be anything really, but that it is all around us because God's created the environment in which we live, and He is beautiful, right? He is the creator of all those things.
Yeah, just as you're speaking, I'm reminded of Philippians 4, isn't it, where whatever is honourable, whatever is right, whatever, dwell on those things. There's something in, when you're learning to ride a motorbike, there's this thing called fixation, and you end up fixing your gaze on something, and that's where you go. So when you ride a car, you steer the wheel, and the car will go where the wheel goes. That's not the same with a motorbike. If you look at something and you look at the curb, that's where you're going to go, and you'll fly off the bike. And so I find just linking that with Philippians 4 of what is it you're actually looking at?
That's good.
What is it that you are seeing through life? And I think we can so easily dwell on the negative, the ugly, when actually there's moments of beauty. And I think just something really practical that I do regularly is just the prayer of examine. So at the end of each day, just taking time just to go, God, where have you been present today?
I'm with you, and I think the table's with you, but for the benefit of the millions watching around the world, help us, for those who maybe haven't encountered the examine.
So the examine prayer is just, to declutter it a little bit, is just a really practical way of seeing God present, and that you take some time and you invite the Spirit of God just to come and illuminate moments in the day where He was present, and you may have missed it. And you just, allow God to, as you go through your day, just highlight moments where He was saying, I was reaching out to you in that moment. I had it recently where I was feeling really low, and it was on a Sunday morning, and I could have got really wound up about something, having a conversation with someone. And a child came and interrupted our conversation and was desperate to show me something that they'd created.
Wow.
And as I reflected back on the day, I was like, that was the moment where God was breaking it.
Right,
and actually, it was a beautiful moment where it could have been consumed by something negative. It could have been consumed by something hurtful. And actually, there was a moment of beauty that came. And so you take time and you allow the Spirit of God just to bring those things back to you. And I think when I've done it with people, they're like, nothing's happening. I can't remember anything. But again, it's the more you look, the more you see. And what you fix your gaze on, that's where you go. And so it's a practice that if you develop it, you will start to see God more and more present throughout your day.
That's brilliant, mate. It's really good.
Really good.
I love that. My broadband broke down a couple of days ago. And
we were on a Zoom with Lisa last night. We can
testify to that. It's just so relative to this because it was just like, why now? And it kept coming back and then going off and then coming back and off. And I was getting more and more and more frustrated. And then I kind of relented and God, please just get this engineer out to fix this broadband. And I had that kind of moment. It was like, I kind of thought, well, okay, maybe God's trying to show me something here about this broadband coming in and out and breaking down. And this morning I was like praying about it because I need to get it fixed. And God was saying, I don't come in and out. I'm just there. I'm accessible 24/7. And that's such a privilege to know that we have a God that is just there all the time, even when I can feel that he is not there. I don't rely on my feelings, he is there. And just, that thing about the broadband, I could have just got frustrated with the broadband, but it kind of brought me back to God. So, there must be so many things in our lives where we can examine it and look at it in just such a different way.
Yeah, really good.
It's really good. I think from if we shift it to a creator's point of perspective, I think if I'm creating something and I take the time to make it beautiful, that actually ascribes worth to whoever is going to see it in the end, or hear it, or feel it, or sense it. It actually gives worth. So take it like if you have a space that somebody's coming into and you create it beautiful, you make it as beautiful as you can. It ascribes worth to the person that steps into the room.
Nice.
And so it's actually a really godly thing to try and get to beauty through what you're creating, because it actually it makes people feel like you can see that are more at ease when you've created an environment. You can see that they're ready. They feel like, oh, somebody's thought about me.
Yeah.
Because it's beautiful, because they're like, wow, that this is, that. I think it's really helpful guideline when you create.
It's really good. We're running out of time. So
I love this conversation. Let's keep going.
So we're going to move to some practical things. And again, between episodes, we were talking, and we want to kind of round these things up where we've still got loads more to say, rather than the well running dry and we're like, well, this is awkward. So
nothing.
I hope you can sense kind of in the flow of the conversation, we could be here for hours and hours and hours, but we want to drive it to something that is in hand, that we can kind of take what we all like to do and think big thoughts. And that's kind of in the title of this whole podcast. We want to think deeply about these things, but they have to kind of have their socks and shoes on too, right? They've got to be grounded in some reality. So I wonder, I'm going to use one example, and if it doesn't vibe with you, then tag it over and the next person can fall over it. So my brother and I unironically send each other icons, and we use iconography, and it's a bit of a running thing in the office here. People will go to far-flung, exciting parts of the world, and we'll bring images of Jesus and things back from wherever they've been. And there is a long history and heritage of that, and they're a little bit lumpy, and they're a little bit hard to look at, but by design, because they're all the things that we've talked about. They're supposed to elicit figuratively the aroma of something. In the tradition, they talk about them being gateways, and so you get through them to God. Yours doesn't have to be questionable wood panel pictures of Jesus in 2D, but in real life, in real terms and time, what is helping you reconnect with beauty? What is beautiful in your life that points you towards Jesus? I wonder if you can just take something really practical, just something that you have in your existence. If any of you say your kids, you're immediately fired. You've got to think about the answer properly.
Although if the kids are listening, they definitely would have said yeah. For sure.
Cheats answer. It doesn't have. So I'm aware that I have kind of this niche. It's a bit totemic, so it doesn't need to be as dramatic as that. It might be a memory, a place, a person. But if it is a thing, then just for people kind of connecting with it, and they're great swirly thoughts about beauty, but how does it help me find Jesus?
I've got two things. One that's practical, like yours, and one that's a bit more ethereal. I'll start with ethereal. When my wife, I'm married for 7 years, when my wife chooses love when she could have chose something else, like when I'm being an idiot, and she's like, well, actually, I forgive you, or actually, I see you, or actually, to me, that's it blows my mind.
Wow.
And that's the wow of beauty. For me, it's wow, you it was my fault, I know it. Do you know what I mean? In those discussions, and where she's actually, I love you anyways. Right. That kind of thing. That that wows me beyond measure. And when that happens in the community in general, do you know what I mean?
Good.
But then the more practical thing, art galleries have always been what you call a thin place for me. Yep. Thin places is where you feel the presence of God closer. And just going to an art gallery and just losing myself in just walking around,
Right.
it just lifts my eyes, because I think, wow, if a human has created that, how much greater must the God that created that human be?
Yeah, wow.
Do you know what I mean? So that's where it lifts me out of the space. Like the art itself is beautiful and all that stuff, but imagine the mind that created the mind that made that. And that's what gets me like super excited and really like that lifts my eyes.
Great. Thank you.
Right.
Lise?
Or similar to, well, not similar, but similar. I love walking and just trying to remove myself from my everyday environment to, I guess, find beauty or find God. And I love, there's a walk near me that I love, and it's kind of like every time I do that walk, it looks different.
Wow.
The tree looks different, the stream looks different, and it brings me back to God, because I literally do think, wow, God, everything is so individual. How is that possible? And then that brings me back into the mystery of God. And then I have to go back to the office and do the 9 to 5. But in that moment, I think, in the same way that, Jesus took himself away, I think it's so important to find those moments when you can just take yourself away from it.
Great.
However that might look, but that's it.
Really
for me.
good. Thank you.
So good.
John?
Yeah, I think something that I've found is spending some time with the same thing for a period of time.
Okay.
So like your thing with the icons is that you wouldn't just look at it and kind of see it at face value and walk away. You sit with it and you ponder it, and there's something that then the more you look, the more you see, and the more the appreciation comes. So I think for me, there's something in that. A community, I think, is the one thing when I'm feeling devoid of beauty, when I'm feeling like there is no hope in the world, to be in community. And I think even seeing, as someone who is a pastor, someone who journeys with people in discipleship, seeing the beauty in people's brokenness, and seeing that, like we spoke earlier, that isn't something for me to go in and go, right, I know how to solve this problem. It's saying the Spirit of God is the disciple maker, and I get to watch what He's doing, and to be with to be with people for a period of time. I pastored for 10 years in the same church, and you see people grow, and and it's long and it's slow, but there's something of a beauty in that.
Wow. Yeah, really good. Really good. Thank you. Right.
For me, man, there's a couple of things. I would say one is in music, and it's kind of specific to me and relatively subjective, but there's a particular chord, minor major 7. Andy, you can probably insert the sound of that chord there.
Andy, Chris could sort that out, please. Thanks.
Everyone knows it really well. It comes around during Christmas. There's just something so beautiful about
Holy
it
sound.
to me and stuff that I don't know, it just tugs at my heart personally. And also the major 7 interval, like singing that and stuff, melodies that have that, major 6 and major 7. But those things just really, for me, are like, oh, that's so beautiful. And so when I hear it in music, when I hear it in songs, sometimes people stumble upon it, sometimes people intentionally put it in there, but regardless, it is something for me that I see such beauty in, and it definitely makes me think, oh man, God, that's beautiful.
Love that.
Also, I don't like being in nature.
Okay.
That's
I really
okay.
don't.
Me neither. Carry on.
However,
Concrete jungle.
I love
Have you met Johnny?
I'm an inside kind of guy.
But there is something for me about getting to a high place.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And just being able to see.
Very good.
And it's just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, very good.
You know, like we have the Grand Canyon. It's a few hours away from where I used to live in the States. And some people are like, oh, it's just a big hole in the ground. But man.
That was Johnny.
Like have you met the table? Ryan, no one here is
We could do a
saying
3-hour
that.
podcast on Grand Canyon, couldn't we?
Absolutely. I flew over it once. It's stunning.
It is like just one of those things where like some people walk up to it and walk away, but other people, you just stay there for hours just looking at it and stuff. The magnitude of it, the vastness of it, yes, but also like the beauty of it and stuff. And I know sometimes we scoff at people who cry at the sunrise or whatever, but like I don't know. There is, for as much as I don't like being in nature, there's such a beauty in nature.
Right.
And just seeing that as such a reflection of God, seeing it and but also in a weird way experiencing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It really is an experience that you happen to see with your eyes, or you happen to consume it with your eyes, music with your ears, and so on and so forth. But it really is an experience, and I think those couple of things really sort of help reorient my soul and my spirit
Really
to
good.
seeing the beauty of God.
Great,
good.
thank you. Sarah,
So good.
what helps you see?
So I would say two things. One is taste, because I am such a foodie, even more so, I wasn't very well for a little while, and I'd lost the ability to taste things. And so the only thing I could taste was garlic, so everything had garlic in it because I couldn't taste anything. But now, to be able to really enjoy, I love, no, genuinely, beauty is a really good coffee.
Right,
Like a
right.
really,
Yeah, go on,
like
let's talk about
really
it.
good coffee, or like a really nice new chocolate bar. Just something that, I'm quite a sensory person, so I find taste can be really beautiful. It can also be really horrific if I've cooked it. Don't come to my house because I can do you beans on toast and raw chicken. So when I taste something that somebody else has made that is beautiful, because I also don't have the ability to create perhaps that thing, I really love that. And then the other thing is, I'm not like a flowers person, but again, last year I wasn't very well, and almost every week someone sent me flowers. Wow. And I always think flowers is just like God showing off. He didn't need to create a world with flowers. Yeah. Like he didn't need to create a world with them all being so beautiful and different, and and so, although I'm not necessarily someone I'm no gardener or would have considered myself, to be in a place where you can't get out in nature, where you can't look at some of those things, where you are, maybe you're listening to the podcast and you're like, my life is quite limited in what I can do and where I can go. And so something even as simple as, having a bunch of flowers or a couple of flowers in a vase just took me out of the suffering or the pain that I was in that moment, and allowed me to be like, oh God, you're so creative and you're so present and you're so beautiful and you're with me in this moment. And to bring it back to Advent, and then I'll hand it back to you, Jonny. I often think about there's this description of Mary treasuring things in her heart. Yeah. And I imagine her like cradling baby Jesus in that moment and looking at him, the shepherds have come and gone or whatever. And just like the beauty, like we don't know if Jesus was an ugly baby or a beautiful baby. We just don't know, right? Exactly. Please don't cancel me. But like, just... sorry everyone.
It'll look a bit like a potato.
But I
was going to say that.
Should I leave now? But like, I just imagine her like, whatever we think about that just looking and gazing at this gift that she has been chosen to experience and to carry and to be a part of in a really intimate and significant way.
Great.
That really for me is beautiful.
Thank you. You might not feel that you are as moved. To Ryan's point, you might not feel that you're the sort of person that can observe something in nature and be moved emotionally by it, or you might be thinking, what is up with this lot? Like, how much coffee have they had to this point? But we've referenced it a few times, so I want to pick up just really quickly to close, and John's going to pray for us so that we're kind of released into thinking about some more of these thoughts on beauty. But we've referenced Romans 1 a few times, and so I was thinking about Romans 1:17, and so up until this point, Paul's been talking about he's not ashamed of the gospel, for it's the power of salvation for everyone who believes. And in verse 17, he says, for in it, the righteousness of God is revealed from faith for faith. And so if you are feeling a bit disconnected, or you're like, I don't know what rose-tinted glasses this lot have got on, I just don't see it, I wonder if you could be encouraged that the power of the story of God is that righteousness is from faith for faith. And so what have you got in your hand? What have you got that is speaking beauty to you? What have you got that, or what have you heard, or what can you taste, or what can you smell, or what can you hear, that will begin that process of like faith building in you through beauty, in that this is process for all of us, and we could all sit here for hours and hours and hours and tell you the stories of the times where we lost the ability to track with beauty and be like, whoa, that is a world without hope that I don't want to live in. And so it is near and dear to all of us to stay close with beauty, not from an aesthetic point of view, but for like hope is saturated in beauty. And it tells you the story of God. And so it's from faith for faith. And so if you want to hang out in Romans 1 a little bit yourselves, or you want to kind of see what have you got in hand, or what have you got access to, or even if it is the garlic cake today, or even if it is whatever it might be, but you have kind of, God has given you a deposit of something that you can pick up and go, do you know what, give me eyes to see beauty in this, and let that kind of build from there. John, I wonder if you could pray with and for us as we kind of wrap.
Yeah, it'd be a privilege. I think it's just my heart's stirring just for two things to pray into, is that our eyes would be opened to the beauty. But I think also perhaps there's people that are caught up in so much brokenness that the beauty seems an impossibility. And I think praying redemption into that, praying hope into that.
Please.
So Father God, we thank you for who you are. Just, you are so faithful. And your beauty is revealed in the content of your character, that you say and you do. And there's a consistency in who you are and what you do. And we praise you and we worship you. In this moment right now, I ask, Spirit of God, will you just illuminate moments of beauty? Maybe there's a moment that you just bring to our mind, Holy Spirit, right now, over the past 24 hours, where we just drifted straight past it, but actually it was you reminding us of who you are and who we are because of who you are. So Spirit, will you just bring to mind those moments right now where we can say that our eyes have been opened to the reality of who God is and the beauty of who he is. We thank you that you're ever present and that we are the apple of your eye. Lord, I pray for those that have been really impacted by that word beauty, because they look in the mirror and see the opposite of what they think beauty should be. God, we're the apple of your eye. We are your creation. You created each one of us. And you celebrate over us. You rejoice over us with singing. Lord, I pray that some that are struggling to hear the sound of that song, would you just start to tune their ears into the song of the Creator over them that says, you are mine. You know, for those where brokenness just seems the narrative of every single day, God, I pray you'd start to shine a light in the darkness. God, we see you as creator, and what you did in that moment of creation is over the chaos your spirit is brooding, and you speak light into the darkness. So Lord, I pray right now that you'd speak light into the darkness of those that this whole area of beauty is such a trigger, is something that brings condemnation and despair. Lord, I pray you'd shine hope and life.
Yes, Jesus.
So Lord, will you just bring restoration? Because that's your kingdom. Lord, I simply pray your kingdom come. Your kingdom come where every tear is wiped away, every brokenness is no more, where there's wholeness and healing. We pray that now in Jesus' name for your glory. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, John. Thank you all for being with us. We don't have time, maybe at the start of the next one we can do this, but I think I'm going to speak on behalf of the collective. They can throw things at me later. Would recommend that you connect with anything by Makoto Fujimura. That I'm not saying that right, so Google that. But get yourself stuck into some of that. If anything from this has kind of sparked anything, there's some really good stuff to be found from there. Thank you so much for being with us. There are 2 more in this series to come, so we will see you on the next one. Be brilliant, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.